Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday to you. Today on Under the Hood, we have another fantastic guest. This guy, Adelmo Guiderelli. Is there a better name in all of opera? I tell you what, Adelmo and I, for some reason, hadn't met until only just before the pandemic. But once we did, we became fast friends, and I think you guys are going to have an amazing time learning more about this individual. He is a Super Bowl commercial singing baritone. He is a lover of bunny rabbits. Anyway, yeah, let's bring him on. Let's see if he's here watching. All right, here we go. Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to send that invite. Adelmo here with us today on Under the Hood. Adelmo, can you hear me?
Adelmo, can you hear me?
Now, of course, my phone is doing the same thing that it was doing last week, where I can't hear you on speaker, and I really want to hear you on speaker, and I don't know how to fix this issue. Hold on. Okay, quick. No. Okay, I think it's working now.
Just kidding.
Okay, all right, we're good. We're good. Adelmo, how in the heck are you?
Hello, my friend. I'm great. How are you?
Is that a fire burning behind you?
A little Nick Offerman, fireside chat,
I love it. I love it. Tell us, where in the world are you?
I am very privileged to be in Central City at this moment for their festival this summer. I'm performing my role debut as the Major General in the Pirates of Penzance.
Okay.
I'm very excited to be here.
That's incredible. And have you done much operetta, Gilbert and Sullivan type stuff before?
I haven't. The only other time I've done a GNS show is with your last week's guest, Mr. Dean Anthony.
Oh, yeah.
I did Dig Deadeye in Pinafore with him. And yes, Dean, I will always reach out to you for work for the rest of my life.
I figured his comment would
till I die.
That's amazing.
Hey, man, what's up? Got anything for me? You got to hustle. It's about the hustle.
I hear you. Let's talk a little bit about the hustle. So, I was just saying briefly before I brought you on that you and I met right before the pandemic, was that 2018 or 2019? Do you remember?
I think maybe 17.
Okay.
Almost. Yeah.
It was in Amarillo with Dean Anthony, right? We were doing Deflator Mouse. And for me, I haven't done a whole lot of light opera or operetta, but I love it. When I was young, super young, I did the title character in John Philip Sousa's El Capitan. You're going to say I didn't know John Philip Sousa wrote any operettas, but he did. He wrote 14, to the best of my knowledge, maybe 15. Maybe some musicologist can correct us on this. But yeah, it gives you an opportunity to see a different side of, there's a lot of dialogue usually involved. There's, the singing is somewhat different. The orchestration, of course, is different. What has your experience been like doing this modern Major General?
Well, somebody dropped from the production 2 months before we started rehearsals, and I'd never done the role before. So, the tune of the Major General aria. I did the aria many years ago in a concert, and my patter's pretty good and pretty fast. That's one of my calling cards. I'm able to sing patter pretty quickly. So I'm having a really great time. I didn't realize that the role has a lot of beautiful singing too. Actually, after the patter, the Major General has some really, really beautiful singing. In the second act, he has this whole sighing softly to the river, which is a very melodic, beautiful song where I get to do ballet and run around in a tutu thing, like the hippopotamus from Fantasia is what I like to describe myself as, because I'm a little larger guy. So it's been a blast. The hardest thing for me has been, because I'm from New York, New Jersey area, I tend to have an accent.
Oh, do you? I've never recognized it
Nobody
before.
ever told me I got an accent. You know what I'm saying? So when I first started learning the words to the Major General aria, there's memorizing them. There was a from Marathon to Waterloo. So my default was
Waterloo.
exactly Waterloo, from Marathon to Waterloo. Waterloo. What? Come on, man. So and the dialogue, we're doing the high British accent.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a fantastic dialect coach here. Because I came in late, the music staff here has been super supportive, and I've had, multiple coachings for dialect and the music stuff, and it's coming together. We had our first orchestra dress rehearsal last night.
Okay.
And tonight we have a piano dress rehearsal, which is, I know it's odd. And then tomorrow night we have tomorrow afternoon, actually, we have our final orchestra dress, and we open on Saturday night. So it's been awesome.
I remember
really
time we did I was doing a Enrico and Lucia, and this was in Portland, and we had done kind of something like that, where it's like orchestra dress and then piano, but it was because of weather, and so like not enough orchestra members were able to make it. So I think our final orchestra dress ended up being a piano dress.
Gotcha.
And then I remember, like, I don't know, performance number 3 or 4, it snowed so bad that none of the orchestra were able to be there. So we went back to piano after doing like 2 or 3 performances with orchestra. And it was cute. Chris Battagliano was the general director at that time. And he invited all of the people in the audience to just come down to the front. He's like, get as close as you can. Let's make this an interesting, intimate kind of show. But yeah, it is. What were you going to say?
Live theater. What's going to happen?
Right.
Last year I was also here last year at the Central City in Kiss Me Kate. I was doing the gangster first man in Kiss Me Kate, and that was much more to my liking because, hey, I got your thing right here. It was really fun. But one of the performances at intermission, there was a major storm rolled through here, and all the power went out in the entire mountain up here in Central City. So what they did was they made myself and the gentleman who played the second gangster go out on stage a cappella in the audience in the dark and sing Brush Up Your Shakespeare like a farewell thing.
Right.
You got to take it on your feet. And, Isaiah Feckin is his name. Great baritone, great actor. We had a blast. We just went out there and worked the crowd and gave them, a happy smile to go drive down the mountain, go home too, even though they weren't able to see the second part.
Right. Totally
hey, Millie, how you doing?
A special guest appearance by my daughter, Millie, today. Okay, bye, Millie. All right. So, so let's talk. I noticed the Iron Maiden T-shirt that we're wearing today, which I love.
That's actually our Armor Maiden.
Oh, Armor! I couldn't even see that.
This is the way. It's an Iron Maiden, Armor Maiden. Hey, Christina.
Another guest appearance on the show this afternoon.
This is like that CNN commercial where the guy's talking on CNN.
Right.
The kid,
the daughter comes in. Yeah.
The nanny comes sliding in and is like, "Get out of here." Anyway, it's a double entendre to Iron Maiden and the Mandalorian.
Okay.
So whatever.
But let's well, I thought it was the actual Iron Maiden based on the font.
Yeah.
But it reminded me, of course, of how you got your start in singing.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about your early goings on in the vocal world.
Okay. Well, early on, I grew up. My mom and dad loved Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett and Barbra Streisand, Phoebe Snow, all those famous singers. And for some reason, I started gearing towards heavy metal. So I started singing. My career was started as a heavy metal singer and rhythm guitarist way back in the day. So my band was called Def Con because we saw the movie War Games. Maybe I'm dating myself here, probably. But this is, you're having older people on to talk about their old experiences in the business.
Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy, I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah. So Def Con 5. So we thought it was so cool to call the band Def Con.
Right.
And it was fun. So I played rhythm guitar and I sang metal, and we sang Maiden, Metallica, Priest, Queensryche, all those metal bands back in the day.
Wow.
I sang them pretty decently without voice lessons. But then one day my mom said, hey, how about I go take some voice lessons? I'll pay for voice lessons for you. I was living in White Plains, New York at the time. I grew up in that area. So I went to the Westchester Conservatory of Music and started taking lessons with my first teacher to sing rock, and metal. I had long hair. I had the earrings, I don't have long hair anymore. And she said, I hear an operatic quality to your voice. Her name was Lucy Jaffe, God rest her soul. And I was like, nah, I want to be a heavy metal singer. She's like, all right, next lesson, I'm going to play you some examples of opera singers and we'll go from there. So I go in and my next lesson, and she sits me down and she plays me Mario Del Monaco. She plays me Franco Corelli, and because I was singing high tenor rock stuff then.
Oh, okay.
And also played me Robert Merrill and Ettore Bastianini. So to give me an examples of male singers back in the day.
Yeah.
And I was young. I was in my early 20s. I'm like, and she's like, well, these guys are singing without a microphone. And I was like, that's without a microphone? She's like, yes. And they're singing over 100-piece orchestra. And I was like, wow, that's so metal. That's awesome.
It is, right?
It is.
I don't know if there was ever an opera singer more metal than Delmonico.
Right? So, hey, Gracie. And everybody's making an appearance today.
Yeah, well, it's family time over here.
So the band I was with started writing original music. We stopped playing covers, started writing original music, which wasn't to my liking. Stuff like Slayer and Possessed, like more like raw stuff. And I was more geared to melodic singing.
Right.
So I left the band and I just started taking lessons, trying to train the voice in a classical manner. And, I went to SUNY Purchase for a little while. And actually my first professional role was Frank Morant in Street Scene, which
Central City is doing this summer, yeah?
Central City's doing this summer. The great Kevin Burdett is doing Mr. Morant, and I look forward to hearing him in that.
Absolutely.
That was like the first, and actually that production that I did is online. And I sound like this little tenorino singing, let things be like they always were. Almost like Ethel Merman-ish sounding.
There you go.
So I went through the SUNY Purchase thing, and my third year at SUNY, I was one of 15 or 20 people who were part of the Pavarotti competition, and finalists there. And I got to work with Maestro, actually at the Beacon Theater in New York City, of all places.
Wow.
Yeah, the semifinals were on the beat. I had to go to I sang Bella Siccome un Angelo, and he coached me through it and blah blah blah. And he said, I remember he said, make opera your Bible. Now, I was brought up Roman Catholic. I went to Catholic school as a young kid, but my mom and dad were devout, going to mass every Sunday. So when Luciano Pavarotti told their son to make opera their Bible, they were all in to like support me.
Oh, okay. Well, it could have gone either way, right? It could have been like, how dare you, right?
Exactly. They're like, we love Satan. You should not. No, I'm kidding. Stick with your heavy metal. We love Satan. No. So they were like, wow, that's great. The great Pavarotti has like told this to my kid.
Yeah.
So that started like my path to take it, not make it your Bible, but having that experience with my short.
Well, having the encouragement of someone like Luciano Pavarotti, I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you had done that. That's amazing.
Yeah. It was
And so how old were you around that time?
I want to say I was like 25.
Okay. All right.
25, 26 at that point, because I started late singing. I worked for a family business. I was an assistant funeral director in New York State for a long time, which most people don't know. Still have my business license for that.
I'm still waiting for them to make Dexter the Opera, right? You're right up your alley. There you go.
So yeah, I was doing assistant film directing, and the crazy thing about it, I was singing. So I shouldn't go into this, but anyway, I would help in every aspect of helping people grieve, from the beginnings of going to their homes, and
They sing for funerals and stuff for?
Yeah, I would do the business side. I'd bring them to the church. I'd go upstairs and sing. I'd come downstairs. We'd go to the cemetery. The whole thing. It was it was a great service actually to the families.
Wow.
I had to take courses in grief counseling and stuff like that. So then this opportunity came along, but my uncle offered me the family business, and I started singing, so I didn't take him up on that family business, which is a tough road. 24/7, you're on call to do that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a great calling, but it's a rough calling. So anyway, back to good stuff. So yeah, after I was a semifinalist of Pavarotti competition, I did not win the competition that year. I started thinking about getting an agent, and I started seeking out agencies and coaching with a coach from SUNY Purchase, David Maiulo. He lives in New Jersey. He was the accompanist for the Jerome Hines Young Artist Program that existed in New Jersey at that time, called OMTI, Opera Music Theater International. And I auditioned for Mr. Hines, and he accepted me into the program. And it was funny because one of my first days there, they used to have offices at Newark Symphony Hall. Mark Delavan was also a member of that program.
Oh, wow.
And Mark's voice, he was singing dramatic rep even back then. I walked into Symphony Hall and I'm singing Bella si come un angelo, sort of like Adam Sandler, the opera man. And here's Mark like, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, wow, like, okay, Mr. Hines sees something in me that I can maybe aspire, and, find my way in this business. So to your point of like, 2024 is my 25th year in this business. So in and out, because I've had a different path here and there because of family stuff. Sure. And so that's how I actually got my start with these major singers, and with Pavarotti, and then falling into the program with Mr. Hines.
Wow.
I worked with Mr. Hines for years. I used to go to his house and he loved this specific coffee from this coffee house and roasted beans. So I used to pick him up a bag of roasted beans, and he lived in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. And I drove this big bag of beans to his house. He studied for hours. Like it wasn't like, a 1 hour gig back in the day. He'd play me records. He'd show me videos.
Wow.
He'd go through languages, I remember trying to sing a first A flat, in my life during a lesson. And he's like, well, why can't you sing an A flat, Adelmo? I have an A flat. And he would sing an A flat. And I'd be like, you're Jerome Hines,
But how amazing, how incredible to be mentored by such giants in the industry. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a really cool path.
And we just had a comment. Judd Perry said those were the days. I wish that we all had time in our schedules to be able to be like, yeah, just come over. We're going to go through all the recordings. We're going to go through the different, let's dive into this language. Let's not just talk about the translation of the aria, but let's really dig in. And I as a teacher try to give that experience to my students as best I can. I don't try to schedule back to backs, and we try to dig deeper, and we try to, give people, everything that they can. But it's tricky. It's tricky to try to be all inclusive. But that's incredible that he was doing that for you.
It was a very interesting time of life. I mean, and because he was who he was, like my debut was Figaro. I was singing lyric baritone back then. I've since moved into buffo-y stuff and older guy roles because I'm an older guy. Sorry, I got interrupted. I got distracted by the comment. That was Gedda.
Oh yeah. Judd got to spend 5 days with Nikolai Gedda. That's incredible.
Yeah, he I worked with Licia Albanese. I worked with Franco Corelli. I worked with Robert Merrill, Marilyn Horn, stage directors like Tito
Bianco.
Capo Bianco. Like all these people were in his like, hey, let's come over and let's do master classes. Let's coach my singers, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
Point of my debut in New Jersey as Figaro in the Barber Seville, I come out and he didn't tell any of us cast. So I came out from the side going, largo, largo, and well, not like that because it was better than that. That was flat. So, and the wrong key. But who's sitting in the front seats holding his little white Yorkie with his wife, Loretta? Franco Corelli was sitting at our dress rehearsal in the front row for me singing Figaro for my first time. I was like, I couldn't even, when I saw him sitting there, I like froze. I was like, I couldn't barely sing anymore. That was 1998. Actually, I remember because he signed my score. He signed my Largo. I said, oh, can you please sign? He was so cool. He came backstage and, congratulated us all. And it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
That's like the most incredible start to your career training that leads into. So did you ever even get a Bachelor of Music in vocal performance? Was that what you were doing at SUNY Purchase?
Yeah, I was, but then the Pavarotti thing happened, and then the agent thing happened, and then I fell into the young artist program with Mr. Hines.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like,
all right, let's just do it.
Just roll with this.
So in season 3, we're kind of talking about, how things were, how things have changed now, and what we see for the future. So what was the first professional gig that you got where you were paid, you got a contract, you got money for it? What were you singing and where?
The very first, okay, so I'm going to backtrack. Let me tell you how I got the gig.
Okay.
And then we'll gig. So again, I'm with Mr. Hines. I'm having a lesson at his house in Scotch Plains. And Maestro Anton Guadagno, for any of you who know him or don't know him, you can Google him. Famous Italian conductor, Delmonico, Corelli. I mean, all the major. I didn't know about a good thing. I'm having a lesson. So Guadagno and Jerry were very good friends. And he just happened to call when I was there for a lesson. And Jerry said, hey, Anton, I have this young up-and-coming lyric baritone. Would you like to hear him? I'll come into New York one day and hear him. And Anton was like, well, I don't have time. And Jerry was like, well, do you want to hear him now? And Anton was like, sure. So Mr. Hines put the phone down on the piano, and I was working on Silvio Pagliacci, and it just so happened that so anyway, I sang the Silvio, the whole Silvio aria with Mr. Hines and Guadagno in Italy on the phone. And I finished singing, and I see Jerry on the phone going, yeah, this beautiful deep voice. Yep. Yes. He's like, hey, Adelmo, how would you like to make your professional debut singing Silvio at Palm Beach Opera next year? I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Now, granted, I didn't know who Anton Guadagno was while I stood there.
Probably for the best.
Way better than I did not know, because I went home and I researched him after that thing, and I was like, oh man, what a great thing.
Yeah.
So my very first job I got from singing over the phone from the USA to Italy. So he gave me, Palm Beach did 3 performances of that. In 1999, I made my professional debut at Palm Beach as Silvio in Pagliacci, obviously. And that's how I got my first gig, over the phone interview. That's
incredible.
It's crazy. But that back in the day, even Mr. Hines, like for other singers in the program, it was like a pick up the phone type of, hey, I have this great singer. What are you doing next season? Great. And that it would be like a trusted relationship, more so back in the day than today. I think today everybody who's hiring wants to hear you in the room for the most part.
Yeah.
Even if you have a pretty good resume and you've done the roles before. I've heard of singers being heard like 6 months ago singing the same rep, and now the conductor or somebody else wants to hear hear you like 3 months later. Even though they've heard you half a year, they still want to hear you 3 months before, and then like, okay, you sound the same, we'll give you the job.
Well, I
So
think a lot of companies, bigger companies, got into some trouble when they were hiring 6, 7, 8 years out, to try to make sure that they got a hold of whoever, and then they get there, and by that time, their voice would just be,
yeah,
not what it was. And so, yeah, I think that people certainly had started hiring later and later. I mean, that's one significant change that I've seen in the industry since I started, which was about the same time. My first professional gig was in 1997. I sang the role of Wagner in Faust, the little student character,
yeah.
with Opera Illinois, with Fiorentino conducting, and Cornell McNeil, his
Hello.
son, yeah, right. His son Walter McNeil was our Faust, and
Ah,
Nova Thomas was the Marguerite, and it was such an honor that my voice teacher at the time, Gerald Dolter, was the Valentine. So I got to sing on stage with my teacher at that time. I thought that was pretty cool. But
that is
so
very
we've kind of been in the industry for the same amount of time, more or less, and that's certainly one thing that I've seen change is that companies hire later and later and later. Whether it's a budgetary thing or whether it's well, we want to make sure, like you're saying, like the singer still is able to sing the role, 3 months out, whatever it might be.
Yep.
What are some of the other things that you've noticed that's changed from when you first got started in the industry till now? Like, what do you see happening now that's different?
I mean, I think the singing back then was good. I think there were a lot of good young singers coming up back in the day, but I think nowadays the level of singing, in my opinion, from what I see from the younger generation, is quite a notch higher, in my opinion, than it was back I started out. Um, these kids today, I call them kids, but the kids, and even the last year being here at Central City, and this year also, the development of the voices seems to be happening a little quicker in my view. Uh, know more about the industry. Um, they hustle a little bit more. Like back in the day when I got my first agent, I'm on my 5th agent now. Hello to all the agents prior who have helped me through my career. And for various reasons, I dipped in this career for personal reasons also, and I things in the entertainment worlds. But I always kept singing locally. I wasn't doing the regional or the singing overseas. Um, they're just yeah, the vocal, I think maybe is at a higher level. I just think singing, the younger kids singing, it's very saturated, the industry right now.
Yeah.
With good
Yeah.
singing, and I think that I've noticed a trend that because I've fallen into more specific buffo-y stuff, and I mean I did a Judge Turpin last year in Tampa also, but with Dean Anthony, thank you, Dean. Yet again. I think that companies, because of very reasons, are focused on not the big company, but the regional circuit. They hire. They're not as concerned about hiring. What's the word I'm looking for? Like they'll give Bartolo to a 23-year-old, let's say.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do, of course, with budget, right?
Yeah,
Trying to save money where they can and give opportunities
or give it.
because the market is so oversaturated
Yeah,
with incredible singers.
and
Um,
cut their teeth on
yeah.
stuff like. I've seen that wasn't as prevalent back in the day. Companies had more money, and they would be more role specific, age wise, and like stage craft wise. Back in the day, where today they're giving the younger generation an opportunity to cut their teeth. I'm not complaining. I'm doing great. I have a great, great career. I have a great path, and it's nice to see the younger generation coming up and tackling these roles. But I think that's and also today there's so much turnover. I mean, we were just talking about this the other day, a bunch of colleagues and myself, how there's so much turnover in the industry now with general directors and music directors that just when you think you're at a company doing good work, the whole staff changes. Then you have to reestablish your relationships with the new staff that you might not know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been to point. So a cool story for me was in 1999. I said I did my debut at Palm Beach at Silvio. Well, January of this year marks my 25th year in the business. Palm Beach had me back this to the Sacristan in Tulsa as my 25th year anniversary. David Walker was there, and he was completely an ally of mine, and we talked. He's like, "This is great. This is awesome." And then he resigned. He left Palm Beach. So stuff like that are happening where we as artists develop. Not that Jim Barbuto took over, and he is also an ally of mine. However, I'm just saying that you make these relationships, and then they go away. You sort of have to restart relationships with new companies. And I'm finding that
I think maybe now more than ever, I think it's so important that the artist has a great relationship with the management that they're represented by, because really it's about the managers having those relationships with the producing organizations, so that as things cycle in and out and change, and the puzzle kind of morphs over time, as long as the managers who represent us have great relationships with those different producers, then ideally things stay afloat.
Right. I mean, I've been with Vanessa Uzan for quite some time now.
Yeah.
And I have a great relationship with her. We talk about my path, what's happening. I email her leads. If I hear, we talk as singers. Hey, so-and-so, other people who do my rep write to me and say, hey, I have to bail out of this. Can I recommend you? And I say, absolutely. Vanessa, hey, someone's going to recommend it. Can you follow up on this? And, it's nice to have someone supporting, as you know, you and I we're both very happy with our agencies, and we're happy with the relationships we've forged with them. I haven't always been, my years have differed. Like last year I was home 3 months. This year I'll be home like four or 5 months actually at the moment. But things fill in. So it's a business, right? So how much do we make our agents in commission? I think they have to figure that in. So some years I've made them enough money to maybe pay rent for a week of the New York City office. In some years I've made them more money so that they can maybe go out to a nice dinner with their family.
Well, that's why these managers don't represent just one person, right? They've got a variety on the roster. And for young singers, I think it was always a mystery to me how you get a manager, how you get a manager interested in you. I mean, at the end of the day, just sing well, keep singing well, and audition for tons of stuff and do competitions, and you'll get noticed. You get noticed when you start doing things.
Funny, I have a funny story to that point about agents.
Okay.
Also, early on, being in Jersey, I did a lot of work with New Jersey State Opera. So back in the day, when Bernard Uzan was directing, he directed a Chenier that I did LaVille and Schmidt as a young artist. Now, when I did those rehearsals with Bernard, Vanessa, as a little girl, used to be in the room those, because she would come to rehearsals with Bernard. And then I remember auditioning for Uzan when it was Bernard running. Well, Vanessa's always run it in the background also, obviously. But when I sang for them, Bernard was on my resume, and he's like, "Who the hell are you?" He didn't remember, and Vanessa was sitting there. So I told him the story about, I was in Chenier, and Diana Salviero was singing the Magdalena. Lando Bartolini was singing Chenier. I mean, Titans, And I told him the story, and I told Vanessa, "Yeah, well, you were in the room too, you were." And he was like, "Wow, that's really fun and cool, So that was one of the other, you have these I was lucky to have these little moments where he directed me and remember who the hell I was because I was a young artist.
Sure.
So it was an interesting turn of events. And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Funny. We just got a comment from Eric Berry. What's up,
Hey,
Eric? for both of you guys, if a company asked to do an opera specifically for you next season, what role would you want to sing? Well, that's a good question. Well,
For
do
me,
you have any ideas, Adelmo, what you'd like to sing next season?
next season, I would love to dig into a Falstaff. I think I'm the right weight. That I don't need. And I think I've honed my drinking skills enough to know what the character is. And yeah, Vanessa had talked to me about looking at a Falstaff because it's the comedic. I know it's Verdi, and I know Verdi. My voice. Some conductors have said, "Oh, you should try the Verdi rep." I did Singer Germain a few years ago, and it went okay. It wasn't to my standards, so I probably actively seeking that out. But if somebody called me at a lower level company and said, "Hey, we need a Germain real quick, will you jump in?" I would. But Falstaff is something I've wanted to do for a little while. So if anybody's doing Falstaff next year, I would love to cut my teeth on it.
There you go.
And what about you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good question. A couple of things come to mind. I have wanted to do Tabarro for a long time. I would love to do a Schicchi Michele, double bill with Johnny Schicchi and Il Tabarro. I think that would be a lot of fun. I've wanted to do Balstrode in Peter Grimes for a long time. Unfortunately, both of those shows don't get done too often over here in the States. But I'll throw in a Rodrigo and Don Carlo as well. I think that'd be great to do too.
I think anybody would be lucky to have you do any of those.
Is that right? Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It'll be my first Falstaff, so it might be a little.
I got to do that with Peter Rose. You know Peter Rose, British-based baritone. Kind of made his signature roles Bottom and Midsummer, and just a phenomenal actor, singer, performer, guy. My debut as Ford was at Seattle Opera in 2010, and Peter and Eduardo Chama were the Falstaffs, and just unbelievable. Stephanie Blythe was the Quickly. I mean, it was an incredible cast. Sasha Cook was the Meg, and Anya Matanovich was the Nanetta. It was just an incredible first opportunity with Fritza conducting. It was, that's one of my favorite operas, Falstaff, and who knows, one day I would like to sing the title character. Good question, Eric. Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy.
So let's look ahead. What do you you've mentioned, you've kind of gone through a few different over the past however many decades, and now you're in the Buffo repertoire. And so looking ahead, what are some of the things that you're excited about?
Well, I'll be making my Fort Worth opera debut April of next year.
Fantastic.
Doing Don Magnifico, which I'm very excited about. I've done Magnifico a lot at this point. I had I was very fortunate to be able to coach and learn Magnifico with Peter Strummer, who
I love Peter.
Yeah, I did a Cenerentola with him, and he was the Magnifico and I was the Alidoro.
Oh yeah.
He and I became friends, and he said anytime you want to coach the Buffo rep stuff. So I was able to coach the Magnifico. I've done, I think it'll be my 10th Magnifico at this point.
Oh wow.
And although strangely enough, last season I did my Toledo opera, and it was the first time I've ever done the Sia Qualunque aria. Other than that, most companies just keep those first act aria in there, the Irampoli. And then I did it at Opera Las Vegas a few years ago, and they asked me which aria I wanted to do, the Cantina aria or the Sia Qualunque, because I've done stuff there before, and I knew the chorus guys. I chose to do the Cantina aria because I knew it was going to be a lot of fun with the guys. Yeah. And play drunk and fun is great. But Toledo, they cut the Cantina aria and they put in the Sia Qualunque with the fantastic conductor, Michelle Rofrano, who's on the up and up. We had a blast. David Walton we had a blast. So I got to finally see Matt Patter aria.
Do you know which one you're going to get to do in Fort Worth?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
So Might be all three, might be just the first act art. I don't know what the cuts are yet for that.
Okay.
Then 2 days ago, I just had be doing another Bartolo actually with Opera Las Vegas in February of next year, which I'm looking forward to. Chris Bozica is the Count.
Nice.
Lopez is Rosina. Josh Horsch conducting, and Josh Shaw from directing. I don't know the rest of the cast, but
Yeah,
forward to that.
that's awesome.
As well. In the fall, I'm free. Hello, I'm free. Jumping in the fall. I'm available as of now, and yeah, looking ahead.
Well, I think I think it's actually one of the things that I've seen change over time, and maybe my colleagues would disagree. I don't know, but I know you're married and you have bunny babies. I have, as we saw before, I have a teenager daughter. And one of the things that I mean, obviously, right, we're in a tricky place in the industry right now because companies are doing fewer productions and companies are doing fewer performances of those productions. So it might not be the same kind of like boom, 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 boom over here in the States, at least. But that does allow for, in my opinion, a little bit of a better work-life balance. I enjoy being at home. I enjoy spending time with my daughter. I enjoy spending time with my wife. Talk a little bit. I mean, I've mentioned bunnies now twice. Talk a little bit about how did you start getting into bunny rabbits as a pet, and who you have now?
Yeah, my hashtag is. I remember Sam Snook wrote this big article about find your hashtag, and make it define you. And so my hashtag is Bunny Dad Baritones.
Bunny Dad Baritones.
So years ago, as a kid, I had a rabbit as a child, and my wife and I have been married now for 17 years. And early we lived in Astoria, Queens for many, many years before we moved out to New Jersey, where we live now. And I just had this recollection of them being really beautiful beings and really calming, really great pets. I'm allergic to cats. Can't have dogs where we were living in Astoria. So I said, hey, let's get some bunnies, So we got our first bunny, Thumperino. And,
Thumperino, that's amazing.
Thumperino, we rescued him from a place up in Connecticut. I must mention also, a side note, my wife is a children's book author. Her pen name is Amber Spradlin, and she writes a children's book series called Diary of a Super Bunny. Yeah, Thumperino.
Was the first bunny that y'all got the inspiration for these books?
Yep, Thumper Diary of a Super Bunny. It's available on Amazon, and then she commissioned composers to create a children's musical out of it. So she's like 12. She's going to kill me. I don't know the amount of 14 different books and 5 or 6 different musicals, children's musicals that are Hoyer Publishing. They're available in their catalog for schools to do.
These are all based on the adventures of Thumperino?
Thumperino Super Bunny, baby. So Thumperino Super Bunny, he's a superhero in Queens who, when my wife has red hair, when the red-haired lady and the singing man go to bed, Thumperino would go out into Manhattan and fight crime.
That's the cutest thing I've ever heard.
We've house bunnies because you can train them. They're litter box trained.
Oh, really?
They run around free around the house all the time.
Wow.
We love them. We still have one now, Fantasia. She's a handicap bun, so we can't have a partner. Her partner passed away during COVID. But they're amazing. They're amazing little creatures, and we absolutely love them to death. So that's how I got into the bunnies.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
And how cool to make it a family ordeal with the children's books and the children's musicals. That's really cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
My dad is 91, living in White Plains, New York, and where we live in New Jersey, we live in northern New Jersey in a town called Ridgewood. He's about 28 minutes door to door. So to your point, home with him and his later stage of life.
Yeah.
I lost my mom about 18 years ago, 20 years ago. I get to spend a lot of quality time with him when I'm not on the road. I see him once a week when I'm not on the road, and we go out, we chill, we talk, yeah. So my first half of my year, I was in, like I said, I was in Palm Beach doing Sacristan. Then I did a quick jump in at Capulet in Opera, Idaho. Then I went to Tri-Cities Opera to do a Bartolo. Now I'm here. So my front end of my years was jam packed. And, now I'm here for 2 months in Central City. And then I have some time before I go to Vegas in February. So even like to your point, I like being home too. I don't know if you know the character Mango from SNL, Chris Kattan.
Oh my God. Yes, I've seen that.
So
please, how does that wrap it?
So in jest, my wife, when I'm home, because my wife has a day job, she works in the city every day. So when I'm home, we joke that I'm her Mango when I'm home. So I don't wear the little French maids thing, but I do yard. I love doing the yard work. I love gardening.
Yeah.
Dad, taking care of business, cooking. All the stuff.
That's awesome.
All the stuff. Sitting on my.
I know that. It was Classical Singer magazine that named you as an artist to watch in this upcoming year. Yeah.
It is coming, and it seems like the artists, they're watching me sit on my couch for the fall.
No.
So that's what...
No. I think they're watching somebody who has figured out who he is, and watching somebody who has found a great way to balance this whole work life, opera singing, being a husband, and doing your home. I think it's awesome what you're doing. And I really appreciate you coming on.
At a point, I'm still hustling.
Yeah.
I'm still every lead I hear about, I write because it is competitive, and doing the Buffo stuff. I still want to continue to ride and do it at my goal one day is to sing at the Met, sing at Houston, sing at San Francisco. Those companies have sing at Seattle. Those companies have eluded me. So far, so I'm still just doing the best work I can, and Vanessa, and I are working hard to get me in the right rooms as we move forward, and have the right people hear me, and to hopefully, get into those different companies as we move forward.
Well, no doubt you will. I mean, it's just a matter of time and a matter of presence, and just keeping the top spinning. So. Keep doing what you're doing, and I hope anybody who is able to get out to Central City will have a chance to see Pirates there and see you there. And again, I truly appreciate you coming on today.
My honor. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Well, I hope you have a fantastic piano dress tonight and another orchestra dress tomorrow. And happy opening, this weekend?
Yes, Saturday night we also.
Saturday night.
1 of 10.
Awesome, dude.
And we have 9 shows after that. So.
Oh my God! All right. Well.
Right out though. So.
Good. Thankfully, right?
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, we will talk to you soon. Thanks so much again, and appreciate you.
Again, thanks for having me on.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.